Welcome to The Frequency. I'm your host, Dee Barnes. And on this episode, we have something special for you guys. I'm telling you, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And I have the honor of having one of the pioneer Emcees on today. She's one of the mothers of the culture, Dr. MC Debbie D. Debbie, join me on The Frequency. What's up, sister?
Hello, Dee. Thank you so much for having me. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. You're looking beautiful. Thank you for being on. You know, I was stumbling over the doctor part because a lot of people don't know that you are a doctor.
I have an earned doctorate. I have 6 earned degrees.
That's amazing.
My doctorate. So I've been busy over the years.
Yes. Yeah. I want to start off on that, but I'm going to go further back first. I want to get into the history. This is why I'm so excited to have you on. There's no better person to talk to about the history of hip hop in New York than one of the pioneers. And one of the things you've pointed out is that you are one of the matriarchs, because we always talk about the founding fathers of hip hop, but we always seem to leave out the women, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on today. So first, let's talk about your upbringing in New York. Where did you grow up at in New York?
I actually was born and raised in Harlem. So all of my early childhood, birth, everything, all the way up until the age of 13, I lived in Harlem, about 2 blocks away from the Apollo Theater. Went to all the schools in Manhattan, PS 180, Watley, and then Norman Thomas High School. So that's my old stomping ground, Rutgers, the PAL, the Apollo Theater on Hamilton night, all of those different places, going to Sylvia's restaurant.
Yes, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what were some of your childhood ambitions, like your influences? Because did you know you wanted to get into, music, hip hop in particular?
Well, I have a church background. So ever since the age of 5, when I started doing my Easter speeches, back then in the 60s, basically everybody went to church.
That's right.
Went to church, and particularly on Easter.
Right.
And so I started doing my Easter speeches, and I think that's where I found my comfort zone behind the mic. And so as time went on from doing Easter speeches, everybody realized I spoke really well. I was very articulate because my mother basically made sure that all of her children were articulate when we spoke. Right. But from there, I started singing in the choir. So I have a gospel background. Church is my backbone. It's my life ever since the age of 2 years old. And so from there, one thing led to another, as we'll talk about, but I've always been on the mic since the age of 5. I've been on the mic 55 years.
That is amazing, yo. So I was looking at some research when I was, getting ready to talk to you. And I remember you talking about how the Bronx was in the 70s. Now, when did you transition from Harlem to the Bronx?
When I was 13 years old, unfortunately, my family experienced a 5-alarm fire. And in the midst of that fire, we were relocated. The interesting story was my aunt lived in the same building with her children, and she got relocated to the projects in Harlem. And then we got relocated, as my mother would say, to the Bronx. And I'm like, the Bronx?
Right.
I didn't really know anything about the Bronx other than going to the Bronx Zoo, because, for school, you kind of would go.
That was a field trip. I grew up on the East Coast, too. I grew up in Queens, actually. So I remember that was like a field trip.
Exactly. So you went to the Bronx Zoo. You probably went to the Botanical Garden. But the church also at the time had relocated from the Bronx to Harlem. From Harlem to the Bronx. And so that was basically all I knew about the Bronx. And then my mother said we were moving there. And so at 13 years old, we moved to the west side of the Bronx first, which is not too far from where Kool Herc and all of that stuff started. I didn't know anything about it because I was only 13.
Right.
But we stayed there for about a good 6 months. And then the Red Cross moved us over to Webster Houses in the South Bronx. And I'm a South Bronx pioneer. That's where the whole thing started. It's the first time I heard the beat drop.
Really?
The first time I got on the mic was right there in Webster Houses in the South Bronx.
Oh my goodness. So that was your earliest memory of hip hop. Like, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
the minute I heard the beat drop.
Right, right.
That was 1977. I was 14 years old. And as I said, I was living in Webster Houses, and anybody that knows New York City, and particularly when it comes to New York City Housing Authority, the buildings are really big. They're really tall, is probably a better way to say it. And so my building went up to the 21st floor, and I lived on the 19th floor. And so school was out because it was the end of June and it's hot. You know, I didn't have anything to do because I really didn't know anybody. And so I kind of just hung out in the house, and all of a sudden I heard this music, and I wasn't really interested in the music because I didn't know what it was, but I just kind of heard the music play. But what intrigued me is that the same part of the record kept playing over and over and over. And everybody knows, again, I'm a baby boomer. So if you're coming up in the 60s and the early 70s, everybody knows that when you hear or when you play music or records, those vinyl records, back then, you played the whole record out. So I'm trying to figure out, why is it playing over and over? Is it scratched? Because that's usually what happens when the record's playing over and over. And it just kept playing. And all of a sudden I heard somebody on the mic, and I'm like, Mom, can I go outside? Right. So I went downstairs, came outside, heard the music very loud, and I just followed the music, and that's when I fell in love with hip hop. And it didn't even have the name yet, you know. Going to a jam, and I went to the jam. All the kids was there. The music is playing, the DJ, and I'm like, remember now, I'm just really coming from Harlem, so hip hop didn't really explode yet. It's still very localized. I had saw anything like that or heard that type of music being played in Harlem. So I kind of heard that whole thing. I'm like, oh my God. And the kids and the break dance. And I'm like, what in the world?
That is amazing. So, I mean, when you think about it, like, hip hop came out of a time in the Bronx where, things were not good in the Bronx in particular, right? Like the housing situation in particular. I know a lot of the buildings were like abandoned, burnt out.
Yes. You had a lot of urban decay. I always, because I serve as a hip hop historian also in hip hop, I always like to make clear to people that when we talk about that particular time frame and the urban decay that was going on in the Bronx, it wasn't the whole Bronx. It was the South Bronx.
Okay, because people do think it's the whole Bronx when they have that picture.
Again, and that's why I like to bring correction to that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to start doing it now, but you wouldn't have seen something like that in the North Bronx, where people basically had houses. You know, you had a lot of people who were homeowners in the North Bronx, and then on the West Side, where Kool Herc was, you didn't really see the urban decay. But right there in the South Bronx, which is in particularly where you have a large group of low income people living in this very heavily, densely populated, that's when you had a lot of the issues. So yes, you had a lot of burnt down buildings, burnt down to the ground. Right. Just rubble, you know, mattresses, and all of this is in my backyard. All of this is in walking distance to me, because I'm from the South Bronx. So this is something I could really see. If I walked a few blocks, I could see on a daily basis.
You could see on a daily. And so hip hop comes out of this. Now, you were just saying that on the West Side is where Kool Herc was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, you know, the same environment. But I know that still the gangs were there, the violence, crime, and everything. And can you like walk us through like how this music just like, or this movement just came about? Because I know you just discovered it when you got there, but I mean, amongst all of that was happening, we had this like creative thing going on.
Well, the backdrop to the history of, and particularly why kids such as myself, because we were all kids, you know, teenagers, literally.
Right.
gravitated to the music is because at that particular time, again, this is like the mid 70s, there was a major budget crisis going on in New York City. And as a result of that crisis, a lot of the programs that were targeted for kids, the after school programs or programs during the daytime that dealt with the arts in the school, music, all of the stuff that we would do to kind of keep us interested and release all this energy we had as teenagers. A lot of that got scrapped in the budget crisis. So there's a whole meshing of things that's going on at the same time because, of course, people aren't working, unemployment is high, and that's when you start getting a lot of the burnt down buildings. So there's a lot going on. I'm in the process of writing a book, so you're really good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. Hold on. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the music in the school, in your high school in particular, because you got some famous alums there, right?
And yes. Wait.
Hold on. Don't tell us.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay, we'll be back, y'all, on the frequency right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Back right here on the frequency with your host, Dee Barnes, and my special guest, Dr. MC Debbie D, one of the pioneers, matriarch of hip hop. Okay, now we were just talking about how you gravitated, or how everyone gravitated to the music at that time. Please continue.
Because of all of, again, the meshing that was going on with the city of New York in terms of its budget crisis, not having the resources that we were accustomed to growing up, and all these major changes taking place. When Kool Herc started bringing his sound system outside, and then Flash got involved, and then Bambaataa got involved, and all these other DJs started springing up, the L Brothers with Mean Gene and all of those guys, the guys in my area, DJs Bear and Abel. When you started getting all of these guys out there and they're all playing the music, there is nothing else for us to do. So when the summer hits, you have these jams, because again, the term hip hop wasn't even on the scene yet.
Right.
It was popular then. And so, you just have kids just going to the jams, and these DJs are bringing out their sound systems at least 3 to 4 times a week.
What? That's what really,
we're all
mind-boggling. 3 or 4 times a week.
Yes. I mean, you're talking at least 8 big old speakers. At least in my area, this is what I'm seeing. You also have, let me just throw them in there. You have the Brothers Disco. They're up in the North Bronx. You have, I mentioned Bambaataa, but you also have Disco King Mario, who's in the Southeast, both of them. DJ Kenny Ken, all of those guys are in the Southeast. But the DJs are prominent. And so the DJs are basically playing the music. And then when the MCs come on the scene, we want to get on the mic. And so that's when a lot of things change. But that's what really caused us to gravitate, because we didn't really have the resources that we were accustomed to. So that became my playing ground. And today it's a multi-billion-dollar business.
I mean, it is global, worldwide. I remember the same type of thing, hearing it in the park and wanting to be involved. But I want to go back to your schooling now. You went to Norman Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Norman Thomas High School. Now, I read that you were in class with Kumo D.
Yes.
And Special K.
Yeah, Special K went to the school as well.
Unbelievable. My group Body and Soul, we did a track with Special K. Was unreleased, but we had the opportunity to work with him, which was like so amazing. And I got a chance also to interview Kumo D. But what was it like back then, just being in class with people that just was, on the same vibration, on the same, hip hop level?
Much didn't really happen in the classroom.
Right.
But the fortunate thing about attending Norman Thomas in the 70s and early 80s, I graduated in 81, is that from what I know, we were the only high school in New York City, public high school, that had music in the school.
What?
So at lunchtime, like a lot of pioneers will talk about how they would kind of, play a tape, or maybe somebody was beating on the table.
On the lunch table, yep.
Right, and then somebody would be rhyming. We didn't do that. As a matter of fact, the DJ for the Treacherous Three and also for Spoonie G was DJ Easy Lee. He went to school as well. So he's one of those DJs that was on the turntables in the lunchroom. Now, remember, the lunch period is going to go about 4 or 5 hours. So every hour there's a different DJ on the turntable. So you got the disco records playing, you got the break beats playing, you got salsa playing, Latin playing.
Yes.
You just got all of these different DJs are on. And then they had the mic. And so it was like, hey, you want to get on the mic? The mic was right there. All you had to do was just walk up and just tell the DJ, I want to get on the mic. You get on, you rhyme. All your friends are running to the front. Everybody's cheering you on. All right,
love it.
Patting you on the back. And it was a jam session. Like my school, anybody that grew up around the time that I grew up and went to high school will tell you Norman Thomas was the school you wanted to go to. This is the school where the Cold Crush and the Treacherous Three did the boat ride. I mean,
what? I didn't know that. Cold Crush, because they didn't go to the high school.
Nope, they didn't go to the high school, but we were moving on that level. We were already integrating hip hop. We're the first high school to actually kind of bring that whole vibe of having hip hop in a school.
Exactly.
And it's amazing for me now because now I'm teaching in these schools. So
it's full circle. All right, we're gonna come back to the teaching part. So did you get on the mic when you were in high school?
Absolutely. And let me just backtrack too. I do want to say, because I went to Norman Thomas, and Norman Thomas is located in Lower Manhattan, in Midtown, actually,
like Murray Hill area or something.
Right. 33rd Street. But for me, it was beneficial because I lived in the Bronx, but I went to school in Manhattan. And I was fortunate to hear Harlem Emcees and Harlem DJs probably earlier than most people.
Right.
So a lot of times when people talk about the history of the Bronx and what the Bronx is doing early on, they may not really realize that there's a whole nother scene that's going on in Harlem, because I'm listening to Kumo D, I'm listening to Special K when these guys are in the hallway, when sometimes they're like battling each other in the hallway. It was amazing. It was a lot going on.
So you were just saying that there was a whole different scene in Harlem. So that means that Brooklyn had a different scene, Queens had a different scene. So just like it just started popping up all over.
Well, by the time I'm in high school, and this is basically from 77 to 81, but the earlier part of the high school, you really didn't have Brooklyn crews, and you didn't have Queen crews. If you had them, they were probably far and in between, and they're not necessarily featured on flyers. You do have the DJs that are featured on flyers, like the Disco Twins. You'll see their name, but you don't necessarily see a lot of MCs popping up. Even some girls popped up who were DJs from Queens, like Lady Love and Quinny Quinn. But MCs, you didn't really see them as of yet, because everything is basically happening in the Bronx and in Harlem, which is actually interconnected by a bridge that you can walk across.
Right. So, okay, so now we're gonna get into the women. We have to get into the women. Okay, wait. Let's take a quick break. We're gonna come back and talk to you because this is like so much history. I'm like, and I'm remembering my upbringing too. So I'm just like, this is a lot. I love it, y'all. We'll be back right here on The Frequency.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Back right here in The Frequency with your host, Dee Barnes, and my special guest, Dr. MC Debbie D. We're talking about all the history of hip hop right now. And Debbie, I got to get into it. The women, okay? Because you named a lot of crews, a lot of guys from the Bronx. But when did you start seeing you were right there. So you did see the women getting involved, because it was just like, not just about the MCs, but like all the elements were happening at the same time in hip hop. So the DJing, the rapping, where we got the beatbox, graffiti,
The breakers, graffiti,
So
and the fashion, the fly girls,
and the fashion and the fly girls. Yes. So you saw the women at the same time the men, because when they tell the story of hip hop, we might hear occasionally about the women, but it's always the men. So what were you seeing then, and as far as the women coming up and, you know, the matriarchs of the culture?
Well, let me first bring some clarity as to why, when you hear any discussions on early hip hop, why you don't hear a lot about the women, because there weren't that many.
Okay.
There were only a few of us. And at that particular time, almost every woman or young girl at that time, because we were all teenagers, was in a male group.
A crew.
Yes, was in a male crew. Right. So you may have a few exceptions, but for the most part, every girl is in a male group. So when you hear the names, you may not necessarily think of the girl, or the guy isn't thinking of the girl, because, and this is one of the things I break down in my book. And here's the reason: because groups move together. You didn't move as an individual. You moved as a unit. Like it's Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. It's the disco, the Brothers Disco, the Funky Four plus one, and my crew, DJ Patty Duke and the Jazzy Five. Like people booked you as a unit. They didn't book you separate, because we didn't really have soloists then. The soloists didn't really come into play until 1980, and all of that's documented on flyers. Right. So everybody moved as a crew. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of girls when they're talking about crews. If a girl is in that crew, of course, they're considering, the person who's speaking is considering the girl, but the girl didn't stand on her own. That really didn't come until I became a soloist in 1981.
Wow. And you know what? I'm so grateful for you to put it like that, because I always have an attitude about it. Like, why you don't talk about the women, you know, and blaming it on, you know, a lot of misogyny. But it's basically, like you said, we were just beginning. So there weren't that many of us, and no one knew. So who were some of the...
Let me say this. When people think today of girls, all of those girls are standing on their own.
Right.
Back then, girls didn't stand on their own.
Right.
Girls with crews, but now you don't have crews. You basically have everybody in hip hop is a soloist now.
True.
In the beginning of hip hop, it was all crews.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that people are trying to be disrespectful when they talk about history. It's just that they're talking about the crew. And if you want to hear about the girl in the crew, if you know that she's in the crew, then you would have to single her out and ask the question. So, for the most part, people are being pretty honest.
Yes. And I'm so glad you broke it down like that too, because that really gives me a whole nother perspective and respect on the culture in itself. So as long as the mothers of the culture are being acknowledged and lifted up, it's all good with me.
Well, let's talk about who are the mothers. So let's make it clear.
Let's make it clear
who the mothers are and why we are called the mothers, the matriarchs of the culture.
Okay, so break it down.
The four mothers is Debbie D, Shyrock, Lisa Lee, and Pebbly Pooh. Those are the four mothers of the culture. So if you're going to do any accolades or anything, you need to be calling all four, because all four of us were in crews. However, we are the four girls who stuck out the most in our crew. And we're also the four girls who have the most longevity when it comes to other female MCs in the 70s or the 80s. It's not that other girls wasn't there, because I can name a few other girls that were there. However, we have the most longevity. We have been featured in books, and we did a lot. Did a lot. That's why we are considered not just pioneers, but the mothers. We stand at the cream of the crop when it comes to hip hop. Anything you're talking about a movie, you're talking about TV, you're talking about radio, whatever you're talking about, one of us is going to be there. Debbie D is going to be there, Shyrock is going to be there, Lisa Lee is going to be there, or Pebbly Pooh is going to be there, or all four of us going to be there. But we're at the forefront holding it down.
So see, I'm so glad you clarified that too, because those are the shoulders that we are standing on, basically. Those four in particular. Okay.
And
now
again, let me just say, because I don't want nobody coming for me, it doesn't mean that other young ladies wasn't there. Like you did have the Mercedes ladies, and you did have Inner City Disco. You also had Sequence. And Sequence to me is like your first female superstars.
Yes.
They come under Sugar Hill and, all that they did with their records and everything. But when we look at the Bronx, when we look at hip hop in its genesis, in part jams, when it's all first starting, we are the four girls who started there. And to this day, we are visible to this very day.
Where does DJ Wanda D fit into that? Because I know you guys did a lot of live shows together.
Yes, Wanda D fits in when, again, I was a part of a crew, DJ Patty Duke and the Jazzy Five, and my crew began to break up, just like a lot of crews around that second or third year mark. There was a lot of shifting going on. And so I decided to step out and become the first female MC soloist. I am the first girl that you see on a stage, on the flyers, to document my work over several years.
Amazing.
In the lineup, everything.
Right here.
The flyers.
Let's talk about the flyers. Let's talk about the flyers. The flyers. Before social media and everything, it's so wild too that you collect them. I only have 3 of my original flyers. I have one that we used to do something at the local Boys and Girls Club. That's amazing. I have one that was at some type of roller skating rink where it was Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And around a long time.
And then I have one where it was like Davy D at a spot in a roller rink in New Jersey. So those are and then I have one where I'm on. Actually, I was an opening act for Stetsasonic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, awesome. We were and I was the solo at the time. I had a beatbox doing my thing, and I actually have an audio similar to yours with DJ Wanda D. But you were so cold-blooded in it. I had to listen to that like several times, and then I realized, going full circle, that you were a big influence on me. I don't know if you see this mic behind me right here. This is the type of mic you had in Beach Street. This is the type of mic you had in that old school mic. And just your fit, everything. So we got to get into Beach Street, and
that's how I met. Let me just say with Wanda, when I decided to make a bold step to become a soloist, I had to get a DJ because at that particular time, Busy Bee had carved the niche out for the soloist. You started out in hip hop and you got on the mic, and as a DJ, could you get on? But the niche for the soloist wasn't really carved out until Busy Bee did that. And so he becomes the blueprint for all solo MCs. And one of the things that he does is that he incorporates a DJ. So he has DJ, cool DJ AJ. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to become a soloist, I need a DJ. And I had just had a show with Wanda that kind of just happened. And I'll go into all those details later in my book. But somebody said to me, why don't you just do it with Wanda D? Debbie D, Wanda D. And I'm thinking, okay, we were kind of new on the scene, but we came together, and I promise you, we were amazing. That tape, that you heard, that audio is actually a battle at Harlem World.
What?
It is the first time that a female MC is rhyming at least 5 minutes straight. The whole routine was 15 minutes, but they only caught that 5 minutes on that audio. But no other girl had done that because no other girl had stood on stage by herself with a show.
Tell me about Harlem World.
I'm doing a show. I got my gear. I'm doing everything. It's booking me. It's a whole total ball game.
Oh, for sure. Tell me about Harlem World, because I've heard it shout out in songs and that nature, but I've never really heard anybody get into some details about it.
Well, Harlem World is a prominent club that was located in Harlem on 116th Street and Lenox Avenue. And one of the things I like to say for your viewers, because sometimes I think this is not clear to people, so I always like to make things clear.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Is that Harlem is a section in the borough of Manhattan.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't realize that. So when you say New York, that first New York is the city, but the borough is called Manhattan. And there's a section uptown in Manhattan, which is the village of Harlem. For the most part, it runs from 110th Street to 155th Street. But Harlem World is located on 116th Street and Lenox Avenue, right directly across the street from the mosque where Malcolm X his speeches and things like that. If anybody goes to Amy Roof, Harlem World was right there on that corner. So it was a big club. It's about 3 floors.
I didn't know it was that big.
Oh yeah, it was the place was 3 floors. It was humongous, and it became the Mecca. There were several other clubs that were there also in Harlem at the time that we went to. But Harlem World to me became the Mecca for the battle. And not only that, D, one of the things that I talk about in my book is how Harlem World became so prominent because it was located in Harlem, in Manhattan, and it was easier now for all the kids who heard hip hop on the cassette tapes to actually get to Harlem World as opposed to traveling another 45 minutes to the Bronx.
Okay. It was easier for people to come around. So it was a Mecca.
Yes. It opened it up for people that were coming from Queens, people that are coming from Brooklyn. Like when I first heard Stethasonic, it was at Harlem World.
Yes.
You have the Force Emcees, who are now the Force MDs, but they first was the Force Emcees, and they were from Staten Island, and they're coming into Harlem. It was just easier to get to. So a lot of people got discovered right there in Harlem World, but that was where the battleground was. So if you didn't want to battle, you don't want to get in there. That's where the Cold Crush is battling. That's where Mo D and Busy Bee is battling. That's where Debbie D is battling, because I'm right there when we doing these battles. It's going down. The Crash Crew, the Feeling For, the Treacherous Stream, Spoonie G, T-Ski.
Oh my goodness.
We're all up in there.
Wait, so now we got to transition into Beat Street, because you just described to me what they tried to make Beat Street become, Harlem World. They tried to make it look like Harlem World. So tell me about that experience. Okay, we know Beat Street was first, they called it a dance drama movie that featured hip hop culture. At least that's what it says in the Wikipedia. And one of the producers, the late great Harry Belafonte, rest in peace. And then also I think David Picker, So Harry Belafonte.
I don't know his story in the past.
Me either. But I know they were. Right. They were the producers, and then the director was Stan Latham. I'm just trying to get all of this out in the
Stanley
open.
Latham is important because Stanley Latham is Sanaa Lathan's father.
Exactly. And Sanaa is in one of my other favorite hip hop films, Brown Sugar, because that was my upbringing with hip hop. I heard it in the park and gravitated that way. But talk about your experience on Beach Street.
Well, Beach Street was an experience because it helped to take hip hop and propel it to another level. We had the records, but it was still, hip hop was still at a place where people in the world were still trying to struggle with, is this something that's really going to stick around? Is it something we want to invest our money in? And then here comes Harry Belafonte, who decides he's going to get involved in it. He's going to put his money to it. And so what he does is, as we just said, he calls in, his friends. We have Kenny, who is the main player and the main actor in the story, who is the son of Ruby and Ozzie Davis.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, you have who is the daughter of Chong from Cheech and Chong.
Yes, that one I knew. I knew about Ray.
Major players in it. But Harry Belafonte decided, listen, this is underground, but I just believe that something is really brewing here. And for the most part, the majority of the movie is filmed in the Bronx. Now, about 6 months before the movie, I'm climbing as a soloist. I am the #1 girl in the city, and the flyers to document that. I'm on everything.
That's right.
I mean, we're crushing it. We're killing it. And, a lot of transition had taken place in hip hop with a lot of the crews and different things like that. And so in the midst of all of that, Chirac, who was a part of Funky Four and the Funky Four Plus One, approached me about the idea of me, her, and Lisa Lee of the Cosmic Force coming together as a girl group.
Oh.
And so I thought to myself, I'm doing real good, but these are my two pioneer sisters. Now, if anybody's name is hot on the streets, like I said, it's 3 of the 4 girls who I said are the matriarchs, Debbie D. Chirac and Lisa Lee. We're the hot girls, regardless of what's going on. If it's on the flyer, we're on it. Okay. And so I thought to myself, and particularly Wanda D was DJ, so I talked to her about it. She decided, that we would all just kind of group together. In the midst of that, like I said, that the movie is going on. We heard about the movie, D. And girl, let me tell you.
So you heard about the movie like it was a casting call, or?
Yes, I don't know how we heard about it, but we heard about it. I mean, because still, hip hop is still small, so whatever's going on, whatever's popping in the streets, you're gonna know about it.
That's
so people
true.
talk about this movie is going on, and so they were having auditions at the Roxy's. So we said to ourselves, we're going down there to tell them they need to have us in the movie.
No doubt.
We're not auditioning. We're not doing it. No. If you're going to have a girl on the mic, it's going to be us.
That's right.
And at that time, we were called Empress.
Okay.
Because all of us felt that we were queens. I had the title of Queen MC. And then when the word rapper became popular, I changed it to Queen Rapper. And then Lisa Lee, who was part of the Zulu Nation, also was using the title Queen MC. But we didn't have any issues with it. We all worked together. And so we went down there or whatever, and we said what we said, and they said, okay, we're gonna put y'all in the movie.
Oh, I love it.
Movie.
That scene so much is like just ingrained in my memory. I know that had to be my first time seeing like women on the mic in a film. So that took it from local to like global, inspiring women all over the world to get into hip hop. I know for me, it definitely was. You were definitely a big influence on me. I mean, first of all, I always talk about it, just the fits, everything that you guys had on then can be rocked right now.
Oh, well,
those weren't your clothes, and you guys didn't pick it out, but it doesn't. It's still, but it looked dope though. You don't think it looked dope? You don't like it?
not compared to what I had on when I came there.
Oh, I wish I could
start my rhyme off. I say the fly girl Debbie D, right? So I came there fly. People knew me for dressing real fly. And when I got there, they was like, to wardrobe. We're like, what? Girl, I had on these boots where the top of the boot came off.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Because I didn't wear them. They only let me keep the bottom part.
Oh my
so the top
God.
part was red and black. I have some pictures of me with the boots on.
I know you had a suede, like the little suede skirt with the top.
I had on head to toe. Don't play with the fly girl.
Oh,
they gave us all them clothes. I was excited later on because the skirt was of London. So, you know, that was a major designer in Britain. But still, you know, we came there with our own stuff. We hip hop.
Yeah, exactly.
We look more like punk rockers because, you know,
you did.
Going on too.
It did give you like an underground punk rock type of feel. And that's why that's probably why I love it so much. I mean, to this day, but I would have loved to see, please put that in your book, what you had on.
Absolutely.
Because you were showing the true hip hop spirit.
Yes,
okay. We got to take a break. We're going to come back with more this hip hop culture and these flyers. We got to talk about the history right here on The Frequency.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Back right here in The Frequency with your host, D. Barnes, and my special guest, Dr. MC Debbie D. We were just talking about Beat Street, and I've got to get into the song you guys did. You performed Us Girls Can Boogie, Can Boogie Too.
Yes.
Which I thought was such like a call to action, really, like, yo, y'all, we could do this. We could do this. You know what I'm saying? We're showing you how it's done. And for me, it was that type of inspiring message. Tell me how that came about and the fact that you guys were wound up on a soundtrack, because was that your first time being on Wax?
It was for me, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing. They gave us the record, you know, and we did the rehearsals and different things like that. But they gave us creative liberty to write our own rhymes.
Nice.
And, you know, so we were more into that and into the rhyme. You know, the song was okay or whatever, but, you know, we were more into the rhyming part. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, I realized what I felt the message that Harry Belafonte wanted to send. And that is, it's male dominant. And I see this culture and all of these guys are doing something. But you know what? Girls can do it too. And I think that song became a catalyst for girls all around the world. Even when it plays now, to say, as I often say today, not that we can just boogie to, but we can do it too. You know, we can not only just get on the mic, DJ, you know, be a graffiti artist or a B-girl, but we can also be authors and journalists and producers and, you know, all these different things that girls are doing today. So again, you know, us girls begin to lay the blueprint for inspiring girls around the world to say, listen, come on, you know. And when you look at hip hop today, what do you see? Predominantly girls on the scene.
You see so many women Me too. I mean, and thank you for that, because I'm telling you, I was one of those young women that was definitely inspired, to participate because of that. And you inspired me a lot too. I mean, even my first earlier hip hop name was Double D. For Dee Dee.
Yeah, them simple names.
I was trying to get close to like the Debbie D type of thing. So that's just so wild that we're sitting here right now.
Let me just add this piece. That's how we got the name Us Girls. Like I said, we considered ourselves queens, so we came up with the name Empress. But because of the song, every time they wanted to do the recording for the song, or we had to act it out, they kept saying, "Where's the Us Girls? Where's the Us Girls?"
Oh, wow.
That's how we became the Us Girls.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that. Now, wasn't that also the name of your organization for women?
Yes. And so, just about maybe 10 years ago, I decided that, I've always been one to empower women. Almost any lyrics you hear Debbie D rhyme on, I'm always saying something to empower women. And so I just, I've always had workshops for women, all kind of stuff. And so I just kind of decided to reach back and grab that particular name from the Us Girls and make it Us Girls Can. It is all about empowering the female voice.
Yes, I love that. And do you do like seminars with the girls? You do events?
Yes, I do. On my own, people will bring me in to speak to, young girls, or, I had like a whole line, every now and then I'll post some of the pictures with all of the t-shirts and bags,
right.
I mean, from the babies all the way up to the adults. We just wanted to empower. We had Us Girls Can and Us Girls Can Too for the little girls.
Oh, I love that.
It's just about empowering girls. That's all.
This has to go back to your church foundation, and you're in the ministry.
Yes.
Please talk about that. How you transition from the MC. It's actually going full circle, right? From church girl to MC to ministry.
Yeah. Well, I've never left the church, but as I got older, I just decided to become more serious and become a Christian. So that's I was just religious before, but I'm a Christian now, and I, profess Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. But
amen to that.
Just how just how the entertainment world is. It just really started getting the fun left.
Right.
Put it. Hip hop in the early days was about fun,
peace, love, unity, and having fun.
That's the mantra. And, once it started not to be fun anymore, and it just became so commercial and things started taking a turn, that's when I just started falling back. And I think that, there was a transitional period as well.
I wanted to talk to you about the Juice Crew. You were part of the Juice Crew, and I know that you did this rhyme on this track called Evolution, where you're like Harriet Tubman.
I'm rhyming about Harriet Tubman. I'm one of the first girls to be a part of the Juice Crew, which many don't know.
Right. Before Shantae.
Yes, I am. I'm before Shantae. And Fly Ty reached out to me and said he wanted to do a project that was a little different from the norm. And he wanted to feature, do something for Black History Month is what it was. And so he asked me if I would do something on Harriet Tubman. And I went to the iconic Schomburg Library, where I had a friend go there and pull everything that she could get on Harriet Tubman, and wrote the rhyme. And I can say that's one of my favorite works, because this was the first time that you got a chance to put the history of our Black leaders in rap form.
Right.
And I'm so honored to be a part of that.
It's an amazing record. I think I actually have the vinyl. It's like one of the first ones that I think the Juice Crew did, right, on Cold Chilling label, I think.
Yes, I think that was on Cold Chillin'. You have MC Shannon's on it, you have G-Rap on it, and also the other young lady that's a part of the Juice Crew is Glamorous. There are three of us that were rhyming at that particular time. So that's me, Shantae, and MC Glamorous.
And MC Glamorous, that's right. I completely forgot that so you're basically because Glamorous started out with you too no, she came after.
Yeah, she came after. Yeah,
so you're the only one that went from like the original early days to the the golden era.
Yes, absolutely. Because I connected with the Juice Crew, I got an opportunity to, rub shoulders and, start doing some work with those who were hot at that particular time.
Right.
And so, again, there was a lot of transition going on. And so a lot of the older crews kind of faded out of the scene around that particular time, which is like around 86, 87.
Right.
But I was fortunate enough to still be around and to connect with this amazing group of prolific MCs.
Definitely.
And that's how I got on Evolution.
Were there any more records you were on that I'm not aware of?
Yes, I also had 2 singles. Again, The Other Woman. It's everything is on my website, mcwe.com. The Other Woman, and another record called Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Ooh.
So it's good.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go check that one because that's the one I didn't miss that one. I did hear about The Other Woman, but not the Tom, Dick, and Harry. I got to check that out.
What girls are talking about today,
right?
Because they had all the battle wars were going on, and so Fly Ty was like, do something different, and so I decided to do that. I don't necessarily think it's my best work. I think the lyrics are great, but I think I had to hold back because I was trying to be soft and kind of sensual. Right. That's not me. I'm a battler. I'm full speed. I'm aggressive when I'm on the mic. So it's okay. But those are the 2 singles that I did.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up with our guests.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Back right here on The Frequency, talking to my special guest, Dr. MC Debbie D. I wanted to talk to you about the Juice Crew. You were part of the Juice Crew, and I know that you did this rhyme on this track called Evolution, where you're like Harriet Tubman.
I'm rhyming about Harriet Tubman. I'm one of the first girls to be a part of the Juice Crew, which many don't know.
Right, before Shantae.
Yes, I am. I'm before Shantae. And Fly Ty reached out to me and said he wanted to do a project that was a little different from the norm. And he wanted to feature, do something for Black History Month is what it was. And so he asked me if I would do something on Harriet Tubman. And I went to the iconic Schomburg Library, where I had a friend go there and pull everything that she could get on Harriet Tubman and wrote the rhyme. And I can say that's one of my favorite works. Because this was the first time that you got a chance to put the history of our Black leaders in rap form.
Right.
And I'm so honored to be a part of that.
It's an amazing record. I think I actually have the vinyl. It's like one of the first ones that I think the Juice Crew did, right, on Cold Chilling label, I think.
Yes, I think that was on Cold Chilling. You have MC Shannon's on it. You have G-Rap on it. And also the other young lady that's a part of the Juice Crew is Glamorous. There's 3 of us that were rhyming at that particular time. So that's me, Shantae, and MC Glamorous.
And MC Glamorous, that's right. I completely forgot that so you're basically because Glamorous started out with you too no, she came after.
Yeah, she came after. Yeah,
so you're the only one that went from like the original early days to the golden era.
Yes, absolutely. Because I connected with the Juice Crew, I got an opportunity to, rub shoulders and, start doing some work with those who were hot at that particular time.
Right.
And so, again, there was a lot of transition going on. And so a lot of the older crews kind of faded out of the scene around that particular time, which is like around 86, 87.
Right.
But I was fortunate enough to still be around and to connect connect with this amazing group of prolific MCs.
Definitely.
And that's how I got on Evolution.
Were there any more records you were on that I'm not aware of?
Yes, I also had 2 singles. Again, The Other Woman. It's everything is on my website, mcwd.com. The Other Woman, and another record called Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Ooh.
So it's good.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go check that one because that's the one I didn't miss that one. I did hear about The Other Woman, but not the Tom, Dick, and Harry. I got to check that out.
What girls are talking about today,
right?
Because they had all the battle wars were going on, and so Fly Ty was like, do something different, and so I decided to do that. I don't necessarily think it's my best work. I think the lyrics are great, but I think I had to hold back because I was trying to be soft and kind of sensual. Right. That's not me. I'm a battler. Yeah, I'm full speed. I'm aggressive when I'm on the mic, so it's okay. But those are the 2 singles that I did.
And just a quick point, what do you think? Because I know you wrote a lot of your own lyrics. What do you think about women writing their own lyrics or having a ghostwriter? I mean, I know there's other male MCs that have ghostwriters too, but they seem to focus in on the women having ghostwriters. What do you think of an MC that doesn't write their own lyrics?
I'll echo the words of KRS-One, something that I heard him say just recently. I think just perhaps the other day. In regard to ghostwriters, I don't have any issues with people having a ghostwriter because sometimes I mean there's a writer's strike that's going on right now. Right. There are people who just are gifted to write. I am a writer by profession. I write everything that I've ever rhymed. I wrote, and when I still have my original rhymes right now, but I just think, as KRS-One said, if you're going to have someone else write your rhymes, just make sure they're a good writer.
Right.
Don't pick a writer who doesn't know how to write, and then of course you can tweak it into your own voice and that type of thing. I mean, I know how people feel about somebody else writing your rhymes, but I think that's more old school now in terms of that thought. Of course, I applaud you if you did the work because writing is not easy. You have to write and rewrite. You write and rewrite, until you get it sharp and it's strong. It's in your voice and you can feel it. All of that goes into it. But if you're going to have somebody to write it, and you're paying them to write it, get the best writer.
Get the best writer.
Holla at me.
Holla at you. Holla at your girl. Holla at your girl. I love it. And see it right here. Hip hop knowledge right here on the frequency, y'all.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, another edition of Celebrating the Legacy of Hip Hop 50 with my special guest, Dr. MC Debbie D, one of the original pioneers, matriarch of the culture, starring in Beat Street. You know her work. Oh, we out.